remember I went to a dinner party once and I was talking with somebody and he asked what I did and I said I'm a theater historian and his response was, I didn't know theater had history. I'm very interested in what productions of the past looked like. I'm really interested in the vocabularies that the artist developed in putting something on the stage. I'm interested in how the conversations around a production in its own time and how conversations around a production now might be different based on the differences in our societies and the differences in what we might want to say now. As a dramaturg, which is basically the person who goes in and asks questions and tries to understand what conversation a play now might be having with its audience, you do a lot of historical digging and a lot of historical research to answer questions that the director or the designers or the actors might have about the play. So for instance, with Three Sisters, one of the things that I was charged with was to figure out how exactly a samovar works. If you're going to be pouring tea, how does it work? Where do you put the little teapot on top? How does the hot water stay warm? You know, really practical things. But it also ended up, I think, that the actors really physicalizing that and really understanding how it worked, I think, contributed to the atmosphere of that scene. I think the very first step is to have a question. Everybody who's full of passion and drive and is interested in a subject, they're going to have questions. To start with a question and then to start digging and see if you can find the answers. And then that often will just send you in a direction. You don't necessarily know or need to know what that direction is going to be when you start. There's an empowerment that comes out of having a question and being able to just go out and find the answer. I think that if somebody is curious, to have the permission to do that and to have the skills to do that is something that is very widely applicable. I think it also gives students a sense of agency and equality in the classroom, so it's not always a top-down teaching approach, that students are driving the course and they're pursuing their own interests and passions. I feel that artists have an ethical responsibility to understand the conversation that their art is generating, and a big part of that is doing research. Starting out what you might think is the easy way, which is starting out by doing research on the internet. Depending on your topic, it might be useful to start in that way, but I find it much more useful and actually much more time efficient to go directly to sources that you know that you can rely on right from the start. The closest you can get to a source is to have material evidence of a performance itself, to have photographs from the performance, to have rehearsal notes. If that isn't possible, then what you want to do is you want to go to the person who actually had those things in their hands. So you want to go to that section in the library that has everything to do with Bertolt Brecht, and you want to just start pulling books off the shelves and see who has been trying to engage in those sorts of really direct conversations. And then look at their bibliographies. Again, rather than reinvent the wheel, to see who they have found inspirational and then to start reading those sources. Don't be afraid to start small. It can be overwhelming to feel like you need to find out everything that there ever was to know about Shakespeare. Shakespeare's plays have been around for a long time. There have been a lot of people who have written on Shakespeare. It's okay to bite off a tiny, tiny little thing, but don't feel like you need to answer every question. Just start with one.